Okay guys, welcome to this week's Fife Property Update. This is from the 18th of September to yesterday, the 24th of September, looking at the whole market for the number of properties come onto the market in Fife versus the number of properties sold in Fife. I'm all going to be talking about supply and demand as well. I'm going to be looking at some statistics for analytical analysis about demand this year compared with demand the previous year, just to show you where we are right now in terms of the demand, the supply. We're going to be talking about properties coming to market as well, properties over the line as well, and properties finally concluded as well, and what they went for. The reason to talk about these ones is so you get a great idea of what the current market is right now and what the value, the total value of all properties are actually going for in terms of end result and monetary terms, and in terms of end result in terms of percentage terms. Quite interesting results here, and quite surprising this week in comparison to every other week from the beginning of the year in January 2022. But let's kick off and talk about this. We'll talk about a couple of articles as well on the Wealth Creation Show in that context. Let's look at the numbers across Fife. That's the most important thing. We'll look here. This is the number of properties actually sold with every single estate agent according to the right move in the week. And you can see there in the Cooper area, 11 properties actually came on with all the estate agents listed in that area, and 10 properties actually sold, went under offer. So, you know, Cooper market's still quite buoyant. East Neuk 7 came on, 2 actually sold. So there's a wee bit of an oversupply right now in the East Neuk area. Will that peter out next week, and will that level out next week? We'll see. 1 week doesn't make a trend, as I said. St Andrews 12 came on, 6 sold, so 50% demand there in comparison to what supply is. Leavenmouth 13 versus 3. That's unusual for Leavenmouth, but again, that can swing round next week. Dunfermline 68 versus 48. There's a big swing in Dunfermline, and there's a undersupply there, an oversupply, sorry, of around about 30% in that week. Glenrothes 13 versus 15, doing quite well again. Again, when we look at Glenrothes last week, it was the other way round, where Glenrothes had more properties coming on than actually sold, but it's spun round again this week. 19 versus 19 for Kirkcaldy, even Stevens. Quite surprising for Kirkcaldy. Kirkcaldy is usually a lot more properties than that actually came on, but then you can see there 143 properties in total at the bottom there, actually listed in the week. 103 actually sold. Now that is actually really surprising, because generally on average, since the beginning of the year, every single week, the number of properties being sold is round about between 120 to 140 every single week. So is demand beginning to fall? Is it beginning to weaken? Let's look at some numbers then. Let's look at some analytics to see where we are right now. And this will show you where we are in terms of where we were last year. This is our website statistics. This is Google Analytics. This is from August the 26th last month to the 24th of September. So the last 30 days up here compared against the last 30 days exactly a year before. Now, as you can see, the comparison, we're about 3% down in total in terms of demand. But you can see from the blue lines there as well, you've got a thick blue line, which is this year versus the previous period, the dotted line, which is last year. And you can see really that while there's a bit more demand here towards the end of this analysis, it still comes in at round about the same level and joins up right here at the very end. So it just goes to show that demand is actually still there in comparison to the previous year. Demand is still there. That 103 is quite a surprise for this week, but demand is actually still there. What I would suggest though is it will take a wee bit longer to sell because we've got an oversupply and for the last, probably the last quarter, so the last 3 months have been oversupply of properties coming on, round about 40% more than what was on previously before. So that does tell us the demand is still there, but you might have to wait a wee bit longer to sell a house. And plus the fact as well, you might not get that huge astronomical amount over and above the home report value anymore because there's more supply, there's more for people to choose from. Equally as well, we'll get into darker nights. People will be taking longer to view, in other words, week to week rather than day to day, because if they go at night, they'll begin to see the, you know, they'll not see everything outside. At night time sometimes if they go too late. So you'll begin to get longer times are longer gaps in between viewings when people want to view and people can view, and then that will take a wee bit longer as well. Equally as well, we are getting a reaction from the public when the buyers are coming to look at our properties now, and I think this will be generally right across the board for every single estate agent. And if any estate agents are watching out there, please feel free to comment on this and see if you're similar to what we are. But you'll get people saying, look, you know, I'm quite happy with that. I'm probably going to put a no interest. I'll possibly make an offer on it, but I just want to make sure this other property I'm going to see next week is just to tick that off to say that's not the one I really want. Just to make sure this is the one I do want. Does that make sense? Hopefully, give me a big thumbs up or a like or a comment or whatever if that makes absolute sense to you. So people will take a lot longer to decide whether they want to buy a property. So even if they've been round, just be patient, just hang in there. They'll probably come back to it. They'll maybe come back for a second viewing now. So all these typical things are happening because they're getting longer to do that, and they're getting an easier chance to do that because there's more properties on the market. So they're being a bit more picky. It's like walking into a shop and you say, I'm looking for a t-shirt, and you only see one t-shirt brand available, and you think to yourself, well, that's the only brand I can pick. So you make the decision there and then. But if you see 10 brands of t-shirt available, you then go, well, wait a minute, I'm going to try on the Levi's, or I'm going to try on this, and I'm going to try on that first, and then I'm going to look at this brand, and we're going to look at that brand. So it means it will take a lot longer. So that's probably a really good analogy to show you how the property market is reacting right now. Let's look at some other numbers in terms of there. So demand is still there. It's only about 3% down on this time last year. It's about exactly the same as you can see here. This is actually quite an interesting one here. You can see there the light blue is actually last year. This is mobile, desktop, and tablet. This is what people are using to actually look at their properties. So this is mobile phone. So you can see significantly that a lot of people are now using mobile phones, significantly more than the year before. They're pulling away from desktops and tablets as well, and in terms of that, and they're actually going on to mobile format. So you need a good strategy and a staging with a really good strategy for a mobile phone. So you need a good estate agent with a really good strategy that works on mobile phones. In other words, you want to make sure you film in portrait, because that's how most people will hold their phones, and you get a lot more in the property when you're actually panning around back and forward. You don't really want to be filming in horizontal, because then people, when they turn it like that and see it for the first time, they just see a wee horizontal strip here. So they don't really see much of your video. So you're better actually to film in vertical rather than horizontal when you're doing digital strategies. It's easier for the public. It makes it so simple for them to engage with your property in the format as well. That's why I said to you about this, about more and more people are choosing mobile. The mobile market now takes up to about 80% of property searches now, as most people use that. Quickly look at this, is where people are coming from as well. Again, look here how social's gone up year on year. The social format has gone up significantly year on year. Direct, people are still coming direct to our website, but you can see organic searches. So which means that more people are actually engaging with social media platforms than they are with Google for searches, because Google is organic searches. That's here. So organic searches have actually dropped, and social media is actually beginning to take over in terms of its market presence for people to look at. So again, it comes back to making sure your agent has a fantastic social media strategy and marketing technique in order to hit the right audiences for your property. Remember, if you're on social media marketing and you're on campaigning, doing campaigns on social media, in other words, sponsoring campaigns to push out to a bigger audience, it's not just social media platforms you can get onto. You can get onto something called ad reach, which means your property will appear on anybody's app in between. So when they're playing free games and stuff like that in between, an advert comes up. That's exactly what platform your agent should be getting onto as well. And that is part and parcel of social media strategy and retargeting, they call it. It's the same thing as Sony and all the big pension companies and all the corporations actually use, and we use it as well. So estate agents, if you're looking for a social media strategy, you need a good social media strategy, and you need someone that actually uses and films in vertical format, as well as probably being strong negotiators at the end. Let's talk about what's over the line this week. Quick one. Yesterday, The link is in here for home secrets. And this is the secrets for home styling. Now, tiny little touches that add a big money to your selling property, your selling price in Fife. Could you imagine if you could increase your sale price by up to about 8% with just a shopping list and a weekend to do it? And it's as simple as that. So there's a good article in here. Perry, Jimmy, and Andrea did it yesterday, the show, and it tells you everything you can do in a cost-effective way in order to increase that proposition and add value in the buyer's mind in order to increase your end result by about 8%. Now, if your house is worth 100,000, that's potentially another £8,000 just for doing these wee fixes. If it's worth 200,000, that's potentially another £16,000. 300,000, 24, 400,000, 32. Yes, I can count. 500,000, 40,000. And that's effectively what you're able to do. So there's a great article on there that talks about the secrets of home styling. And again, as I said, there's a lot of good knowledge from the estate agents that did that show yesterday. The podcast is on there as well. You'll want to listen to the podcast if you're driving to work, back and forward, possibly. And you'll get good insight into how estate agents think, how we think, how we market, how we do things, how we get them over the line. All these wee secrets you want to know, but you can't get them from anywhere. All these questions you want to ask as well, but potentially they're all probably condensed into that show. So let's get back to talking about what's been over the line. So let's have a wee looky. So we're going to bring that up again. And we're going to pop into here now, and then we're going to talk about what's actually sold as well. So this is what's sold first. Now, why we're telling you what's been sold last week is it gives you a good insight into realising what the prices are and how much demand is for particular types of property in your region or in your area that we're actually selling last week. So this first one was sold in 2 weeks. This was Acorn Court in Cellar Dyke. It was a 3-bedroom semi-detached house. Now, this was listed at offers over 240,000. It is now sold within 2 weeks. So still good buoyant market for these types of properties in the Cellar Dyke area. St Kilda's Crescent in Kirkcaldy, a 2-bedroom terraced house. This was listed at offers over £105,000. That's what these types of properties are actually going from in the Kirkcaldy area. Coldstream Crescent in Leven, sold in 2 weeks. 2-bedroom, 2-reception, detached bungalow, and one other person missed out on this, and this was listed at offers over £225,000. One person missed out on this, so basically there's other people looking for these types of properties at that price point and more. So that gives you a great insight for that. Backdykes, here we go. Backdykes Terrace in Falkland, sold in 4 weeks, a 2-bedroom mid-terraced house, and this was listed at offers over £140,000. So that's what these types of properties are going for in the Falkland area. East End in Fruchy. This was an amazing 1-bedroom terraced house, and it was sold in 3 weeks, as you can see there. Listed at offers over £130,000. So these are going for that type of price as well. Rose Street, Methil, sold. This is a 2-bedroom end terraced house. These are cracking houses for starter homes. And this was listed at offers over £100,000. Brilliant starter property for someone. Wellesley Road, Methil. These are great starter homes as well for families. And 2-bedroom end terraced house. And it was listed at offers over £100,000 as well for this one. So this one is away as well in 2 weeks. So that gives you great insight into what has been sold lately and what's been over the line. Let's talk about coming soon. So coming soon, let me just recap. Balgary Road in Bonnygate in Kennaway, 2-bedroom semi-detached cottage. Shore Street in Amsterdam, 3-bedroom apartment is coming. Main Street in West Weems, that's a 1-bedroom terrace bungalow is coming on. West 4th Street in Cellar Dyke. I have been in this house. I did a pre-portal. It's about to hit the website, so you need to be quick. 3-bedroom detached house with amazing views. Or you stand on the balcony out your master bedroom with a glass and stainless steel balustrade with 180-degree views all the way round from the May Isle away along to the actual, away along to the other side. You can see Edinburgh over the water as well on a clear day, and absolutely fantastic view. So West 4th Street Celadine is going to be coming on as well. And finally, the one is Flaxmill Lane in Milton, the Balgony. It's a 3-bedroom detached bungalow. It's going to be coming on as well. Let me quickly talk about an article before I go on to what's completed and sold and prices. This one was, we actually did this during the week with Perry and myself about Fife house prices ought to actually be falling. And we actually talked about the reasons why they aren't. Now, it's a fantastic show. I don't say so myself, particularly. I was probably involved in it. But it was all about facts, figures, statistics. And interestingly enough, in July and August, the sales that have been averaging each week in the UK itself. So we'll talk about the UK market as well, and we actually condense that and talk about how that compares to the Fife market. But in the average sales I've agreed in the UK every week, it's been round about 25,500. When in actual fact, compared to the averages in the sales of the weeks in 2021, it was about 27,300. And the average number of sales every week year to date in 2022 is 26,300. So as again I say, in July and August, 25,500 versus 26,300 so far in the whole year compared to where it is now. It's not really that far off in terms of the numbers and the demand again. Equally enough as well, there's about 780 properties available in Fife now, and yet if you roll back the clock to October 2008, there was 2,163 properties available for sale in Fife. So it's only a third. There's a third of properties for sale in Fife compared to what it was in October 2008. And that eventually all these properties go over the line as well. So it just tells you the market is still buoyant, but longer times to sell probably. House prices themselves is down at 8.8% year on year. We're probably corroborating that and actually confirming that as well, as the Fife house prices are probably round about the 7% over the home report value in terms of what you should be offering. If you see that special house, obviously, that you really want, then you're probably going to want to pay a wee bit more. If you're staying in it for 20 years, it will make no difference. If you've got a £200,000 house, you maybe spend another £20,000 or 10% over. Effectively, if you're staying in it for 20 years, you're only paying an extra £1,000 for every single year you're staying in it over and above. But that actually adds on to the value, because we all know that house prices go up significantly over time, because in the last 20 years, Fife house prices and the Scottish house prices have gone up around about 170%. I'll say that again, 170%. So a 10% extra over and above what you're paying right now isn't that much in the scope of things if you're waiting 20 years and it's going up 170%. At that time as well, inflation was only going up 70%. So your house was outperforming inflation by double the amount, 100% more. Who says houses aren't a great investment? Of course they are. Okay, so you can read that article, you can watch that show to your own delights. It's in there as well. I actually talked about prediction of base rates before the base rates was actually predicted and actually agreed to go up 0.5%. That's exactly what I said in the show. And what that means for the economy, what that means for the Fife local housing market as well. Again, you can watch that show, you can listen to the podcast at your leisure, and it's in this link to the post. Let's talk about what was finally over the line, keys handed over, and give you a good idea. South Hughes in Upper Largo was a 4-bedroom detached house. Most people know that because they've seen it online. It was an amazing house with amazing views. It was sold in 3 weeks, and it was sold for 15,000 over the home report value. So it was sold for 3% more over the home report value. And equally, we sold this house a couple of years before for, I think it was 390,000. So in that year, it jumped up about 100,000 in a couple of years in terms of the value. So it just showed you how house prices can actually move up quite significantly. So it doesn't seem a lot in terms of what it was over the home report value, but it's a huge amount over the last 2 years in terms of the value that's been added to it. Quite a lot of improvements were done to it, but not as much as that. So there was a lot of value added in there as well. West Street in St Mullins, finally sold. The store is actually sold. They have finally retired. They were really looking forward to it, and we're going to. I think there's going to be good things happening there. 4-bedroom maisonette with a commercial store underneath. It was sold for 11% over the value, so it went for 30,000 more. New business venture in the town. We're looking forward to that, and we'll probably give you an update of what's happening in the St Bonnets area with that in good time. Kinnaird Court and Garbridge, 3-bedroom semi-detached house, was sold in 2 weeks at a closing date for 25% over the home report value. This represented £45,000 more for a property that was on £180,000. 4 other people missed out on this property. So if you've got a property similar to a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in Kinnaird Court and Garbridge, they are going for around about 225 to 230,000 now. Equally, it might be a wee bit more, because when this was agreed at 225,000, it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago. So they've possibly moved up just a slight amount from there. So again, other people missed out on these types of properties. So if you've got a property in the Garbridge area, you're looking to sell around about the 230,000 for a 3-bedroom semi-detached house, ex-local authority this type was, then get in touch with us, because we have people that missed out on these properties. Let me finally just finish off here and talk about the wealth creation show tomorrow. So Rich and I will be doing a wealth creation show tomorrow. We talk about wealth creation shows every single week at 12:30 on a Monday. Clearly last week we didn't do it until the Tuesday morning because of the Queen's funeral. So we felt that was right to do it then. But we're back to the usual time of 12:30 tomorrow, Monday. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the 10 biggest investment mistakes to avoid. So I'll be honest and say, Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the first lady in the United States from 1933 to 1945, said, "Learn from the mistake of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. So learn from mistakes of others." It's great. It's a great piece of advice, and equally, it's relevant to investing when it can cost you us financially. So what better way of learning than actually taking some tips from experienced investors already? So luckily, you don't need to head back to school to understand this. Myself and Richard are going to be talking about this. This is based on my personal experience of investing over the last 30 years. So I'll give you all my knowledge and all my experience and all the things that worked for me and all the things that didn't work for me, so you know what not to do. And that will be in that wealth creation show tomorrow when we talk about the 10 mistakes to avoid. I have the script right in front of me here. I'll give you a quick flash of that. So here we go. So we've written this, I've pre-written this, it's all written out for us, our script, and we were given some great insight into that. This will be your golden opportunity as well to ask questions tomorrow. And so if you get a chance and you would like to watch the show, you'd like to ask questions live about investment strategies, investment mistakes to avoid, then please feel free to join us tomorrow, or you can watch the catch up. Again, it'll be recorded, it'll be on YouTube. We'll run it live there. It's on my public profiles. We do share it to the office pages, but you're better to actually come onto the show live and actually comment on the actual YouTube link on my public profile, which is in this link above or below here. So get that information. Listen, at the end of the day, it's all about you. This is all opportunities for you to add value to what you're doing, to make a little bit extra income. I mean, who wouldn't want a little bit of extra income? Everybody. I don't know anybody wouldn't put their hands up to that. But that's effectively what we're doing. We're just sharing our knowledge, sharing our experience, and seeing if it will help you or anybody else and benefit from it as well. So tag people in the show if you want to. Tag them in this as well. Mention about the Wealth Creation Show tomorrow at 12:30. And I will see you then. There is a post on our public profiles as well to give you a reminder. You can go click on that, and then when we do go live, it automatically reminds you we're about to go live. So just in case you forget about it, if you're like me, sometimes you've got other things on, just takes over, and you forget about time, and you just keep railroading on. And then all of a sudden it pops up on your phone that Wealth Creation Show's gone live, so you tune into it, and that's the perfect opportunity to do it. So you can get a reminder left on your phone when you get a chance. Finally, remember the instant valuation tools in there. There was an instant valuation for your rental property. It also gives you an instant valuation for your sales property. If you're a tenant or a landlord or selling or buying, use the tool. If you're thinking about buying a house and you see the price of it and you think to yourself, oh, that looks a bit keen, that price, just go into the instant valuation tool and plug it in, the address of the property, and see if the instant valuation tool comes up with a different figure than what you're actually potentially buying it for. Maybe a good idea, maybe not. If you're looking at your rent and you're thinking, oh, that rent seems pretty high, plug that rent level into your rent level into the instant valuation tool. Get an idea of what you should be paying for rent, and potentially it's an opportunity to go back and negotiate with your landlord. Okay, so that's it, guys. Hopefully you've got a great insight into the market as we stand just now, and until next week for the weekly update, and I will see you tomorrow at 12:30 for the Wealth Creation Show. I'm Jim Parker for Fife Property TV.